All right, guys, so a couple track days in, and I'll go ahead and give these tires a review. Give you some background. This is my fourth bike. It's a 2019 v4s corse with a Krapovich exhaust, the Ducati tune for it, and some stuff like rear sets and other billet stuff. I've only done 2 track days ever, and they were both on this bike. Other than that, Canyon Carver and that kind of stuff. Go out to canyons, go out to I'm in Arizona, so I go out to Lake Bartlett. It's a nice twisty road. There's a lot of dirt, gravel, rocks, that kind of stuff. So I've got some track time basically only on these tires. This is basically going to help somebody make a decision between the Super Corsas or the Rosso 4 Corsa, or whatever model Corsa tire that they have out at the time. I'll just give you my experience and what I think about the tire so far, and what my overall thoughts are. So first track day, I was in C class. My first track day ever. I signed up for C class because I basically thought everybody that goes to the track is going to be pretty quick, and I essentially got bumped out of B class, or I got talked to quite a bit, or out of C class. Basically, don't come back and come to C class. Come back and go to B class. So track day number 1, the tires. I initially went to the track, and the tires had maybe 150, 200 miles on them. That's it. And so a lot of people will say, oh, you don't want to do anything before X, Y, and Z miles. I'll tell you right now, you heat cycle these a couple times and they're done. They're ready. So you're also ride within your skill range, okay? Know when a tire feels like it's going to let go. Know when it's not going to let go. A lot of people say the 500-mile thing or whatever they say about tire break-in, just to be safe, just to cover everybody's bases, right? But you really do need to kind of scrub in the tire, and you don't have to go crazy somewhere. Just go out in the parking lot and lean the bike back and forth, and you'll see the tires start to scrub in, and you can feel it. The tire's getting hot, and they're ready. They're good. First track day, 3 sessions, 20-minute sessions. And by the second session, I was already getting heat signatures a lot like this. You'll see some of this, what looks like the tread's starting to get soft. But I saw it on the sides, not the middle. I'm just using the middle as an example of what it looked like. So you can see how it has some divots and stuff like that. That's basically just the tread getting nice and hot. This is when the tread is actually up to operating temperature and you're cornering at a pretty good pace. You'll get marbling and stuff like that. And that's completely normal because the sidewalls on these tires, to my knowledge, are the same compound as the Super Corsa SPs. The bike did start with Super Corsa SPs and they were a great tire, but I'm not a dedicated track day guy. I'm probably like an 80-20 from now on, because I have, a good amount of buddies that are all doing track day stuff. We kind of all got into it together. And, there's even one of the guys that we do go out with. He's on a full Dunlop slick, and he runs tire warmers and all that kind of stuff. And to me, it just looks like a pain in the ass. But I digress. So back to my experience with the tire. Basically, the only thing that I can see is where the hard and the soft compound meet, there is sort of a ledge forming. And keep in mind, this is 2 track days. Moderate B pace, maybe a top mid B pace, maybe. So I have got into some really high speed corners. I backed into a couple corners. The tire's always just been absolutely glued to the track, front and rear. And I'll show you the front in a minute. Yeah, basically I come out here afterwards, and to get all the marbles off, I just use one of these tire scrapers because I do street ride and I want to be a courteous rider I don't want people getting mad at me or whatever. You know, Arizonans are crazy on the road. So if I pick up rocks or sling a bunch of this stuff off at somebody, yeah, I mean, they're in a car, I'm on a bike. If they really want to be an asshole, they could run me off the road. So I just come out here and scrape all the marbles off with something like this. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. They can come off on the street, but also, like, you know, this stuff gets it's thin now. The marbles are really thin, so they'll heat up fast and sling off. And they'll grab rocks and all kinds of stuff, and Arizona roads are just terrible. So I'd rather just avoid being an asshole on the road. Yeah, so tire pressures on the bike, I'm running 30-30. I have gone up and down in pressures, and 30 front, 30 rear ends up being just where the bike, you know, feels the best. First track day, I did 100% sport mode on this V4. So I never left sport mode. I never modified sport mode. I never did anything weird with sport mode. The bike was really stable. Second track day, I did race mode, and the throttle was super touchy, and it's kind of annoying because there's a lot of tar snakes, which is like the road repair, you know, tarring. If you have a crack on the asphalt, they put the tar over it. So there's a lot of them at this track. It's an old track, Arizona Motorsports Park. You guys can look it up. They're actually shutting down as of March 22nd. Today's March 4th. March 22nd is their last day. So it's a really old track. Nobody's going to renovate it. So it's kind of like, it's a twisty street road that's got a bunch of road repairs and shit. It's terrible. But the tires still, once the tires are up to temp, you do like 1 or 2 laps and the tires are up to temp. I can lean the bike. I can put power to it. I can essentially do whatever it is that I want to do on a 60 to 70 degree track day. So it's not like we're talking about an 80 to 100, degree track day in Arizona. We're talking about like it's March. I did a track day in February. You get it. It still gets colder here. Like we go to the track in the morning, it's 50 degrees. So if you're breaking these tires in, you can break them in at the track. They warm up extremely fast. And basically when I'm comparing these two, any of the Pirellis, they all did the same thing. I ran the Rosso 4s on a V2. Loved them. They were great. Primarily a street tire, though. I would say a Canyon Carver, great. 2 track days on the Rosso 4s, not Corsa, the Rosso 4s, and they were done. They were absolutely smashed. And that was a V2, not even a V4. So a little bit more power, you're going to blast through the Rosso 4s. So don't even mess with the Rosso 4s. Go with the Corsa or the Super Corsa, and you'll be really happy. There was no traction issues with the Rosso 4s, I will say that. They lit up, they got up to temperature very fast. But it's very easy to overheat them, and then you're just piling rubber off of the side of the tire. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking between the Rosso 4s and the Rosso 4 Corsa, just go with the Corsa. You still get the street miles out of it, like you guys can see with the ledge. This is the hard compound, and this is the soft compound on these tires, and there is somewhat of a ledge building in to the tire wear. You can see it right here. So there is, and you can feel it. You might not be able to see it, but you can feel that there is a ledge wearing in. So I wouldn't give these tires much more than, at a moderate B pace, maybe I will get 2 more track days out of them, which is about what you'll get out of a slick, about 4 track days. But out of a slick, you'll get a high A pace 4 track days, right, out of a slick. An A pace. We'll just call it moderate A pace. You get 3 or 4 track days out of a slick. These, basically, I went to the track with a couple 100 miles on them, maybe, and they only have seen track time so far with maybe 50 to 100 street miles otherwise. So it's really just been primarily track only on these tires. But the centers will wear, right? You can see that the centers have a ton of tread on them, and the sides, they still have a ton of tread on them. You're going to see some, if you're a street rider and you're going to take these to the track, you're going to see some wear that you're not used to seeing, just in the sipes right here. They're going to get rounded. There's going to be, and I'll try and look at them. One of the ones I haven't scraped on or anything, and this is basically how it's looking. So you can see the transition is shredding, and then the side is gluing, if that makes sense. It's getting really, really soft, and it's catching that rubber that's shredding. And that's good. That means that the tire is extremely sticky if it's balling up and you're catching them. That's a good thing. There are some cold shred, cold wear patterns, hot wear patterns, that kind of stuff. If you're a moderate B-pace rider and you're doing 70-20 street, like 70% street, 20% track, who cares? That's my opinion. You're not out there shaving tents. You're just enjoying a track day for a leisure activity, having some fun, and you want some confidence in your tire. Go ahead and grab these. They're perfect. They're great. Second track day, B-pace. It was a lot of fun. I was able to push the bike a lot harder. Had a lot of ABS interventions, so I ended up playing with the ABS and stuff like that. So you're pushing harder when you're getting to those kind of limits. Like, oh, now I'm having a lot of ABS intervention. Now I'm having a lot of, noise. I had to put the dB killers in for noise and stuff like that. You're pushing the bike harder. Those are indicators. It may not feel like it on the bike because the bike feels planted, but those are indicators that you're pushing harder on the bike and you're going faster on your pace. But these tires, front and rear, have never even given me a shake. They've never stepped out on me, cold, hot, whatever. They've never stepped out on me. The bike has always felt absolutely glued. Like I said, it's a really good thing to experience is what I'm looking for. The really good experience on a really shitty track, to have a bunch of tire snakes and poor condition, to see what the tire is going to do on the street with some hard, aggressive riding. Like I said, there's 20, 30 tire snakes in a corner. You guys can look it up on Google Maps, Arizona Motorsports Park. You'll see all the tire snakes all over the track. It's pretty poor condition as far as track riding is concerned, and these tires were absolutely just glued to it. Never a shadow of a doubt of confidence. I would basically recommend these tires for somebody who is a moderate B-pace rider. If you run at an A pace but you hit the track very, very rarely, okay. Like maybe 1 time a year, 2 times a year, these are going to be great. Otherwise, I would suggest a Super Corsa SP for the track day guys that are really, really pushing it. If you ride in A-class, I would highly suggest Super Corsa SP. Whether you're a street or a track guy, if you're an A-class rider, you should be on a Super Corsa SP or a slick or something along those lines. That's the other thing. Having a buddy with slicks, I see how much drama he goes through and all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking you're just going to buy slicks and you're going to throw them on, first of all, you have to run tire warmers. It's not an option. You have to run tire warmers on a slick. It's optional on these if you want the tire to just be there right off the gate. I've never, ever had to run a tire warmer. I'm solely non-tire warmer. I come back to the pits, I park the bike, it cools off, I check the pressures, have something to eat or drink, and then I go right back out on the track for another 20-minute session. And I can essentially, after a lap of not going as hard as I possibly can, the rest of the entire session, I can push the bike as hard as I want to. And the tires basically have never, ever given out on me in any kind of way. I've gotten in some hard braking situations and all kinds of stuff where I'm like, oh, well, we might see the limit now, or, the back tire might not be there. It's always there. It's always glued. And, so that's been my experience. But you don't have to run a tire warmer with a Super Corsa SP. You don't have to run a tire warmer with the Rosso 4 Corsa. So it's really, really convenient on these tires. And I've never been like, well, maybe I'll run a tire warmer because lap one, I have to go out and bust down, a crazy lap. It's always just been there. I've never felt like, oh, well, a tire warmer would probably help. Never, ever. And on a better track, it's going to be even better. The only thing that I would knock down on these is wear, but if you're riding at a moderate B pace, wear is just going to be a fact of life. The harder you push the tire, the more that it's going to be there for you and be gluey and be, really nailed down to the track. Hey, you're going to sacrifice something for it. So just be prepared. It's not a big deal. It's not anything weird. It's just a fact of life. You're going to make sacrifices for certain things. Previously, I used, the Michelin Pilot Power, I don't know, whatever. SCs, they're supposed to be a dual compound tire and all kinds of stuff. Absolute trash. Absolute garbage. I've never used them on this bike. I had 2 CBRs before, and I ran them both on there. And I just thought that that's how bikes and tires and all that stuff kind of reacted. But they were so garbage compared to the Pirellis. I'll basically never go away from Pirelli after this. Do have a buddy on Dunlops. He loves them. But, why? Why change for me? He can't do anything that I can't do on the bike, so there's really no reason for me to change. And I've absolutely loved my experience with the Pirelli Rosso 4 Corses. So we'll go out, check out the front. You can see how new the tires are because there's still a D. That's the Diablo signal, and a lot of people say, oh, when the D is gone, they're broken, they're ready to go. I'll tell you right now, I have 2 track days on this front, and the D is still there, and I push it like it's, I've got them up to temp. This is basically what you'll start seeing on the rear, this type of heat up pattern after 1 session. You'll see that on the rear. This is after 2 track days. So the fronts are doing fairly well. I'm not extremely hard on braking, but I've got harder progressively. I do okay. Like I said, moderate B pace, so I'm not out there to really go crazy or anything, but I do push a pace sometimes when I'm with somebody else, just like, anybody does, a little competitive nature, and before you know it, you're passing other B riders and you're probably at the front of the pack. And I will tell you right now that these tires have always been there when I've pushed my pace. I've never pushed my pace and then been like, well, the tires aren't there yet, I need to wait and let them warm up. Never, ever once. So I'm sure there's other people out there that ride more aggressively or have a more aggressive style or something, and I'm sure that can present a problem with a certain tire. But I get my knee down, and I do pretty well on the bike for somebody not looking to break any records or anything, and just have some fun. But so that's more or less been my review, my experience so far on these. Street riding has been great. You don't notice the difference between these and a Super Corsa SP. Originally, the bike came with Super Corsa SPs. So I've had Rosso 4s, Rosso 4 Corsa, and Super Corsa SP. And to be honest, if you're riding on the street and hitting the track sometimes, you'll get the mileage out of these, and you'll get the track usage out of them when you go to the track. The Super Corsa SPs tend to be for guys that are doing, they're pushing things. They're pushing the limits on things. Maybe they don't have a leader bike, but some of the 600 guys, a lot of the 600 guys do a lot of crazy things that push the limits of the tire in ways that leader bikes don't. So in that case, yes, Super Corsa SP or a Dunlop, I think Q5 is an equivalent. Something along those lines is probably better off. Moderate B pace guys, C pace guys that are going to go faster. Great tire. I wouldn't necessarily mess around if you hit the track at all in any way, shape, or form on these V4s. I would not mess around with the Rosso 4s. Just go straight to the Corsa and stay with Corsa, or even potentially the Super Corsa SPs. If you are a dedicated track guy, even if you don't run a fast pace, but you're a dedicated track guy, just get used to the Super Corsa SPs. I think the profile is different a little bit, and then you'll just be used to the bike on a same tire every time. Consistency, right? But yeah, if you're a guy that's learning track stuff, don't really plan on pushing a pace, and you're going to float a B or C class. Just get these. They light up so fast. They warm up so fast on the street. I've canyon carved with them a couple times. Absolutely, they're there. They're just amazing, and I'm really happy that I got a Ducati and it came with Pirellis, because I don't know if I ever would have tried this tire if I was still on Hondas and stuff like that come, you ride with other guys and they don't have Pirellis, they have, the Michelin Pilot Sport SCs, and you're like, well, he does good on them, I'll probably do good on them too. I don't know. Big question mark on tire kind of thing. Just get the Pirellis. The money is worth it, 100%, 1,000%. Actually, my buddy that has CBR 1000, he was trying to keep up with me in pace, and he's been riding for about 4 years more than I have on his CBR 1000, and he was on the Michelin Pilot Sport SCs or Pilot Power SCs. I don't know, the dual compound Michelin tire that's supposed, they advertise the same way that Pirelli does. He crashed the bike trying to keep up with me in pace, because the tire, all day long, the tire stepped out on him every single time, and he never ever got this marbling sticky pattern. He always had the shredded pattern on his tire right there. So basically the tire is overheated when you get that, and it's basically just the tire's smoking. It's gone. You're doing a burnout everywhere. So this is a good indicator that you got the tire right in its heat range, as far as my experience, which is absolutely 2 track days. So keep that in mind. I'm not claiming to be an expert or anything. I'm just giving you my experience between a non-track day tire and a track day tire. This is definitely a track day tire. The Michelin is definitely not a track day tire. If you have anything 600 or bigger, stay away from the Michelin, or be aware that you can go down on the Michelin very, very easily. The back tire stepped out on him. He high-sided. I had on the street, I had the Michelins warmed up on my CBR 600, and I leaned into a corner thinking the tire would be there. It wasn't there. The tire stepped out on me. I high-sided. If the tire would have been there and you would have leaned on it and the tire would have been nice and hot and gluey, it wouldn't have happened. He had 50 laps before he went down and high-sided, and he was pushing and pushing, trying, and I'm not even really doing a whole lot. I'm just the bike's just glued. I don't know. I can take a corner fast. I can take faster than he could on the Michelin. So yeah, that's kind of my direct side-by-side comparison with the Michelins. He is now getting, the bike's fine. He broke a clip on. He had frame sliders, so his fairings are obviously beat up. But bike's basically back together already. And he's going to go with the 260 Super Corsa SPs on his Honda, and then we will do a review on his Honda experience with the 260, because we cannot find a lot of Honda guys that run this size tire. And with the 190/50, now we're kind of getting a little long-winded, so the tire review is pretty much over. But now it's just FYI sesh. But with the 260, I was running around the track, and basically with a brand new tire, you can see exactly how much tire you're using. So I was basically down to here with a lot of my tire wear. I hadn't even touched out here. See where it's basically like I've basically gone out to the sidewall, all the way out to the lip, just maybe a handful of times when I've had to, where it's worn right there. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but basically there's about a fingernail right here where I haven't got to, and then you can see where I have got to. When we were on C-Pace, I basically was having that same mark, but all the way up here. So this entire sidewall was untouched because this tire is brand new. So that was really nice to see how much tire you're using and that kind of stuff on your first track day ever. It's really, you know, like, oh, okay, I can see how much I'm pushing it out. It's a visual representation. When we looked at his tire, we saw the same marks, and he had a brand new tire as well, the Michelin's, and he was all the way down to the peak right here where they meet, right? He was basically using his entire tire at C-Pace on his CBR 1000. And we're not even really like pushing it. We're like still learning the track and all that kind of stuff, right? And we're riding at the exact same pace. We rode together all day long. And he basically came up to me and was like, how are you not using your entire tire to go around this track? It's a very tight, twisty track for a leader bike. It's geared more towards 400s and 600s. So what we did was we took a piece of tape and we put it on the center line of his tire, and we taped all the way down to where his sidewall meets it. And then we took that tape off of his tire and then put it on my center line, and it only came down to here. So basically what I'm saying, the 190/60 has this much usable tread, and with a 200 or a 190/50, I was using the same amount of tire that he was. He was just done at that point. He had no more tire to give. With the 260, you have about an extra inch per side because of how tall the tire is. So that was kind of a crazy representation. We're not like pro tire guys or anything. We're like, yeah, you should have expected that. Okay, well, that's our visual representation of how much tire you have. So basically, his entire tire was about half of my race tread right here. So when I get on this tread right here, the bike is entirely glued down because I am completely on the soft, gluey race compound of the tire. I'm not half on, half off. Completely over here. So keep that in mind. So we do have some experience with Michelin's and stuff like that. They're absolute trash. Neither one of us will ever buy them ever again. We've both been down on Michelin's. And like I said, I've been able to push this bike into situations where I definitely would have crashed on the Michelin's. And, come out the other end like, wow, I can actually push harder now. Which is probably what Pirelli guys are like, duh, you're dumb. And of course, when you're learning, that's basically what I'm showing you guys is I'm learning, and I'm just trying to give advice to somebody else who's trying to figure out their bike and their track day stuff and what they should or shouldn't be doing. Hopefully this helps somebody.